Today, we are going to compare three denominations from different traditions that nonetheless share some traits. If after watching this video you still want more information, consider watching the full-length videos on each denomination here on the Ready to Harvest Denominations Research channel. The Evangelical Presbyterian Church, or EPC, is from the Presbyterian and Reformed tradition. The Conservative Congregational Christian Conference, or 4Cs, is from the Congregationalist tradition. And Converge, formerly known as the Baptist General Conference, is from the Baptist tradition. A similarity we'll soon notice is that these three denominations fit a particular category you can find across denominations. They state that they allow diversity in non-essential areas, and in these three denominations, women's ordination is one of those areas. So in these three denominations, local churches can choose to prohibit women's ordination as pastors, or they can allow it. Additionally, these three denominations are evangelical and teach that the Bible is infallible and inerrant. So with those things in mind, as areas that these denominations agree on, let's look at how they differ. The EPC formed in 1981, 4Cs in 1948, and Converge in 1879. All three denominations share several core beliefs. Among these are the doctrine of the Trinity, affirmation of Jesus' deity, sinless life and bodily resurrection, a future judgment day, and a literal heaven and hell. Baptism and the Lord's Supper are the only two sacraments in the EPC, and the same are practiced in 4Cs and Converge. Some 4Cs churches call them sacraments, and others say ordinances. In Converge, they are ordinances. In the EPC, infants and young children are baptized, as well as yet unbaptized believing adults. In Converge, only believers are baptized. In 4Cs, congregations can choose to be either way. Some baptize infants, others don't. In the EPC, churches normally baptize by pouring or sprinkling, but immersion is also acceptable and valid. In 4Cs churches, some churches only baptize by immersion, but others use the other modes as well. In Converge, only immersion is practiced. For the EPC, Christ is viewed as spiritually present in the elements. In Converge, it's a memorial with no presence of Christ in the elements, and 4Cs churches can have differing views. Communion is generally open communion in all three denominations. All three hold to the Old and New Testaments of the Bible as Scripture, 66 books. On creation and evolution, none of the denominations have made precise statements requiring any particular view on the length or literalness of the creation days or whether evolution was involved. All three denominations teach the necessity of salvation by grace through faith alone. The EPC's soteriology is Calvinist, affirming unconditional election and limited atonement, for example. In 4Cs churches, some are Calvinist and others are not. Congregationalism was originally a Calvinist tradition, but it's no longer required. The same is the case in Converge. One of the most well-known Converge-affiliated preachers is John Piper, who is a Calvinist. The great majority of all three denominations affirm eternal security or once saved, always saved, but it's only a requirement in the EPC. None of the three denominations teach a post-salvation entire sanctification experience. Each of these three denominations is open to some extent to charismatic congregations. Most churches in all three denominations are not charismatic, and a congregation can be continuationist or cessationist, but all three denominations view it as a minor enough issue that churches can teach differently on it without problems. On end times, all three allow diversity of viewpoints, with premillennial, postmillennial, and amillennial views all acceptable. All three denominations teach that fornication, adultery, and homosexuality are all sinful. Marriage is only between one man and one woman. Marriage in all three denominations is affirmed to be a lifelong union. Divorce is immoral except under certain conditions. The EPC lays down certain conditions, adultery and desertion, as the only biblical reasons to divorce, and after which remarriage is permissible. Local churches in the other two denominations set their own policies on the issue. Elective abortion is said to be sinful in all three denominations. Worship style in all three is diverse, with churches that are more traditional, more contemporary, or having a blended style of worship. The EPC and 4Cs do not prohibit alcohol and have not made statements on it. Like most Baptist denominations, Converge has in the past made statements against drinking alcohol. However, there is no official requirement on this, and local churches may teach against alcohol while others permit it. The EPC says that tithing is the minimum biblical amount of giving. Converge has also emphasized tithing officially. 4Cs says in a position paper that tithing is not a requirement, but it is a wonderful spiritual practice. Church polity in the EPC is Presbyterian, and in the other two denominations it is Congregational. Offices in the EPC are teaching elder, ruling elder, and deacon. In the other two denominations, there are pastors and deacons, and there may be an elder board or multiple pastors, but things can vary from church to church. All three denominations are part of the National Association of Evangelicals. In the EPC, there are 637 churches, 4Cs has 304 churches, and Converge has 1,312 churches. Visit readytoharvest.com to become a member and support future videos like this one. Thanks for being a viewer, and consider subscribing if you find my videos to be helpful.